Hello, and welcome back to Historical Terminology. Today, we're going to be talking about writing, um, which seems kind of weird to be talking about in a historical terminology video, but it turns out that writing and the written word are an important part of both our historical record, but also the development of humanity and our civilization. So I figured it was important for us to at least touch on in this series. So let's get started. So, what exactly is writing? Well, writing is distinguished as the content of a linguistic utterance encoded in symbols, so that another reader with a fair degree of accuracy can reconstruct the exact utterance originally written. Basically, what that means is, right, I'm talking to you right now. If you were to write down what I was saying, right, using symbols, right, the alphabet, so that somebody else could then read that and know what I said, that's writing. Now, this differs from what is called proto-writing, which is ideographic or symbolic symbols used to make remembering things easier. Proto-writing came first, and they were mostly used in like businesses and stuff like that, right? So they could remember certain things. But it's not true writing, right? It's not writing down exactly what somebody said in symbols that you could then be reconstructed. So those are different things. So, why was writing necessary for humanity? Well, it was necessary because we were progressing at such a pace, and there's two kind of major reasons. Toe, toe major reasons. And the first one was to keep track of the large amount of information being created, right? As cities grew, commerce became more and more complex, and so making sure that we understood all that stuff was important. And the day-to-day goings on of government needed to be recorded, as well as keeping track of information is hard to do just on your memory. And the second reason that it became important that we had the written word was because it was allowing us to save our cultural achievements, ideas, and whatnot for posterity, right, and future learning. Human advancement has been built off the achievements of the past. And so, because human memory isn't perfect, it's good that we were able to document these ideas. And if they're well documented, they could last millennia, right? So, human culture um, is enduring. I spelled that wrong too, because it can be saved and passed on to future generations, right? So writing is a big tool for us to be able to take this information and pass it on, and build off of it in the future. So let's talk a little bit about our writing timeline. How did writing develop? We'll move on. Here's that little slide. Well, like I said earlier, right, proto-writing was what started it off, and they were using symbols and mnemonics to convey some information. And there are many examples of proto-writing, such as the Indus script that was around 3500 BC to 1900 BC, or the Vinca symbols. Those are just two examples. There's more than that. But even after the Neolithic period, there are several different cultures that went through a proto-writing period, such as the Inca, or the Yukok in Alaska. These were way beyond, right, the Neolithic age. Moving on to the Bronze Age, that's when true writing started to emerge, and that's what historians and ethnographers and all those people call it. They call it true writing, and that's because, right, it fits the definition we talked about earlier. Here are some examples of that. We've got cuneiform in Sumeria, which is actually the glyphs you see in our background here. Egyptian hieroglyphs, Chinese logographs, the Olmec script, right? All these true writing systems, right, all came about in the Bronze Age. Now, the first true writing system is thought to be from the Semitic workers in the Sinai around 2000 BC. That is supposedly, right, based on our best knowledge, the first system of writing. Now, in the Iron Age, the Phoenician alphabet is what became kind of the basis for most modern day writing systems. It gave rise to the Aramaic and Greek alphabets, which in turn gave rise to the other major alphabets throughout the world. So really, in the Iron Age, this Phoenician alphabet, which was developed in and around Phoenicia, right, led to kind of all the different types of writing around the world. Not all of them, but a big chunk of them, right? So in Greek, right, the Greek alphabets end up leading to the European runes, the Gothic script, and Cyrillic, and Aramaic led to the Hebrew, Arabic, Syriac, and Brahmic alphabets, which are some of the major alphabets in the world. So clearly, the Iron Age is when this system was created that ended up influencing many different writing systems throughout the world. In the Middle Ages, after the collapse of the Roman Empire, right, literary development became confined to mostly the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantines, and the Persian Empire. That's where a lot of the scholarly work of the time was happening. That means Greek and Persian were the major literary languages at the beginning of the Middle Ages. Now, in the 7th century, the rise of Islam led to the rise of Arabic, right, as the language of scholarship. And Arabic becomes responsible for all sorts of different things like cursive writing in Greek, and the Hindu Arabic numeral system, right? That number system that we still use today was passed on because of Arabic becoming the language of science in the Middle Ages. In the Renaissance, that led to a temporary revival of Greek and Latin. And the revival of literary development in Western Europe led to many innovations in the Latin alphabet to help codify all the different dialects of the region. So all the different Latin symbols that we use now for our alphabet really came about around the Renaissance. They were refined and expanded upon to create the alphabet that we use today in English, French, Spanish, German, all of those different alphabets, all those different sounds that are encapsulated by those symbols all came about in this Renaissance era. Not completely, but that's when they were started to become codified that way. And then in the modern era, we leap with all these inventions like the pen, the printing press, the computer, and now the mobile phone. They've all really altered what is written and how it's written, right? Modern technology is evolving, and it's changed the nature of the written word drastically in a short amount of time. Writing has become less formal and it's become the preferred method for rapid communication. Even 50 years ago, people would prefer to go and talk to people about things because then you could get your message across quickly and easy instead of having to try to write a letter or a phone call or something like that. Well, now because of texting, we can communicate using the written word incredibly quickly, and that's changed the way that we write. One more thing that we definitely need to note as we wrap this up here is that writing and reading aren't natural things, right? It's not something that we are programmed to do. It's a learned skill that we've developed over millennia. And so humans are predisposed to speaking and oral storytelling. That's what we're naturally gifted at. But the written word is not hardwired into us. That's something that we have to learn over time. There's a reason that we spend so much time in school learning how to read and write, and it's because our brains aren't really designed for it. I mean, we can do it, but it's not something that we're hardwired to do. And so it's very difficult for us. And there have been many languages that have just been spoken and never really formalized into writing. For instance, the Hmong language, not until very recently, had never been codified into writing. Now it has been because a very large group of them have moved to the United States, and it's become codified like that. But for the majority of their history, they didn't have a written language. It was just the spoken language. A lot of other languages like that in human history. Thank you so much for watching this video about writing and its history. Please subscribe and hit the bell so you know when there will be more videos coming. And we'll see you next time for some more historical terminology. Thanks for watching.